That's a great start. Just laughing. So I woke up a couple of hours ago. Friday is my day off. So, hello. This is Fridays with Faye. I feel like Fridays with Faye should have a theme by now, but I don't know what theme to do. So if you guys want to create a theme for Fridays with Faye, be it something, I don't know, related to Islam, because I talk about that a fair bit, or related to anything else, like history and English and reading and whatever, please let me know in the comments below. I would love your input. But your girl just woke up from like a series of antidepressant-induced dreams, and I was kind of talking about this on Twitter before I started this video, and I'm still not sure whether or not I should share them, because some of them are very like my brain on antidepressants, and some of them are very emotional. But what we're going to do today is we're going to continue walking down memory lane, but after some deliberation with myself, after a small depression hiatus last week, I've decided that maybe I'm not going to read out the diary entries. I have been through them myself, so I fulfilled my need to go through my old dreams and thoughts, because they are quite dark and depressing. I've been through them myself, but I think what we're going to do instead is, before we move on to my other diary, as you all know, we've been going through this one, which is this Goliath of a diary that I've had since I think as early as 2013, and maybe even earlier, like 2012 to about 2016, 2017. And then I have another diary that I've only had since 2017, and that one has a lot of memories that I made during my changes, because as you all know, I feel like the thing that everyone knows about me in 2017 is that I left Islam. I left religion, and I was on this quest of finding myself, and there's a lot of finding myself material in there. So I may go through that after this, but this might be the last video for this, because we won't be reading any more entries. I've read them myself, as I've said, but we will be going through the last of the artwork in here, because there is some artwork in here that I do want to show the world, because I was, at the time especially, I was honestly quite proud of it. And the reason why we're not going to do any more entries is because they are all sort of dark and gloomy, and I just don't feel like, I feel like saying them out gives them new life, which I don't want to give them, because these were honestly the darkest periods of my life. They were the darkest, I would even argue, more dark than the time my father almost killed me. They were the darkest parts of my life because my mother was dying. And I feel like reading them out, even reading them in my head, is different to reading them out loud and having them here to party and play, because once I've read them out loud, I feel like it gives them new life, and I suddenly have to go through them, you know? So I feel like that's a bad idea, but I have gone through them myself, as I've said, for the third time now. And yeah, I've fulfilled my need to reiterate whatever I needed to reiterate, and go through them. But I'm just going to share the rest of the artwork in here, because I feel like that's worth going through. So I used to fold up a lot of it as well, for those of you who caught a glimpse of that. So this was a piece that I drew that I was awfully proud of at the time. This was a piece I drew about a novel I was writing called Dystopia. I think it's still available. I think it's still up on Movellas. It was one of the pieces that I really, really enjoyed writing. And it was about this dystopian world where the whole world had turned into these mindless cannibals. Not zombies, cannibals. If you all want me to read that out, I might read that out this Sunday, because we might do another live dramatic reading for Sunday. And honestly, so many of you enjoyed that the last time that I feel like I want to do that again. So yeah, this is actually on the back of an assignment that I wrote about Tess of the D'Urbervilles, which, as I've expressed before, is one of my favorite novels that I've ever had the pleasure of analyzing, because it is so tragic as a story. But this is one of the pieces that I drew long time ago. And I really, as I've said before, I really want to bring this art style back, because I feel like this was my art style, but it's changed a lot since, if you've seen my recent work. So this is just more of my Assassin's Creed obsession. I'm pretty sure these are words to Tobuscus's one of his like dramatic trailer thingies. But yeah, I was very obsessed with Assassin's Creed back in the day. So this is actually my name and how I used to spell it back in school, even though this is not the correct spelling of my name. My name has gone through several iterations of spelling. My mother had a different way of spelling it. My dad had a different way of spelling it. I had a different way of spelling it to both of them. And none of them matched the spelling on my passport. So now I spell it correct to my passport. But this was the logo for my school, which was ACE, which later turned into ACS, and now has gone through a full rebrand and is a completely different school. And this was these little drawings, and this in the middle was done by one of my close friends in year 7, so I was about 10 or 11, and she was my best friend in year 7. Her name was Sophia. Yeah, I'm not gonna out her, but her name was Sophia. This again is more of my Assassin's Creed fetish, and a sticker from when my brother had open heart surgery, which we told is a very graphic story on Walking Down Memory Lane. And these were just some random sketches that I did in my diary. So again, like this art style with the really long faces and the really long noses, really long legs. Like I had a thing, and I still do have a thing for really long features. I'm not entirely sure why, and this is how I used to draw eyes. And I've taken a different approach now, because my eyes are a lot more thin, the way that I draw them, a lot more thin and a lot more, not angular, but they're a lot more cartoony than the way I used to draw them, which was like this, and they were a lot more big and round. But yeah, my art style has gone through some variations. And then there was like my full anime style, which was like this. Which I also really enjoyed, but this is also a really old drawing. I want to say that this drawing is from 2016 maybe. But yeah, this was an iteration that my art style went through. It was just pure anime with the pointy nose and the mouth that doesn't connect, like that kind of style. This, I can't remember where this is from. I'm pretty sure there was a story accompanying this. But I think it was from, I used to draw a lot of characters that were from stories that I was writing. So I think this was from a story that I was like planning. I don't think I actually wrote it. And if I did, I think there's only like one chapter up of it that doesn't even feature this character. But, this was from a story that I was writing about all the like ancient gods. So from like Viking mythology, Greek mythology, some from Hindu mythology, some from Egyptian mythology. All of them were aliens, and it was a story like almost like Percy Jackson. If you've read those by Rick Riordan. Almost like that, but it was about them being aliens and how they like created us as their slaves, again like reaching from Assassin's Creed, and so on. Like it was kind of about that, but I've forgotten. I've forgotten that story because I never wrote it. It was just an idea that I had. So these again are some sketches that I did that I've stuck in here. Some more Assassin's Creed stuff here on the side. these little chibi ones I used to draw all the time on my school books, and this one I think was actually in the back of my diary or something like that, and it says nothing is true and everything is permitted, and that was like the Assassin's Creed mantra for those of you who are unaware. This was my attempt at drawing a hand, which I am still terrible at drawing because I don't really know how to draw them, but this was like a successful attempt, and I decided to immortalize it by sticking it in my diary. And it's holding a dagger, and it's on the back of I'm pretty sure someone's work. This was another drawing that I did. I remember I went through a manga phase where I was reading a lot of manga, and they had converted, this company that I'm talking about had converted all the Shakespeare plays into comic books and mangas. And one of them, I think it was Richard III, they had like this art style that I really, really liked. Again, it's very anime-esque with the eyebrows and the eyes and the nose and the mouth, but it was a style of anime that I really enjoyed. And one of my friends, Alicia, we had gone to Waterstones a couple of days ago, and we were looking at the manga section, and she was like, doesn't anime have like one style? There's one really popular style with the big eyes and the way that everything is structured. There's one very, very popular anime style which I feel like a lot of people associate anime with, but then there are other styles. I promise you, there are other styles. And this is one that I really liked because it didn't have the big eyes. The big eyes are very, very common, but again, they're not. I don't think that that's the style of anime that I particularly like. I like a more gritty look to anime, if that makes sense. I don't know. I'll have to find an example. Berserk is certainly an example where they don't. There are some characters with huge eyes, especially if they're children, but most of the characters do not have that. It's a lot more gritty and a lot more finely detailed than other anime styles are. This was a reading list from A-levels, and I don't even know which ones I did. I don't think I read The Duchess of Malfi by John Webster. I wanted to read it because of My Last Duchess by Robert Browning, but I didn't end up reading that. I think this is just a list of things that I just didn't read. Well, I read Pride and Prejudice, didn't like it, wasn't my favourite. I read The Rime of the Ancient Mariner. I read True Thomas. I think I read True Thomas because it was a ballad that I really wanted to read. I didn't read Dr. Faust or Faustus. I read Far From the Madding Crowd because it's by my personal favourite Victorian writer, Thomas Hardy, which apparently no one else likes. But I didn't read any Leo Tolstoy. I remember I didn't read any Leo Tolstoy. I did read Don Juan. I didn't read Bluebeard's Egg, I don't think, by Margaret Atwood. I didn't read any Margaret Atwood until quite recently, but there are more doodles. And up here it says Les Miserables by Victor Hugo, because I was very obsessed with Les Miserables because it had come out as a musical featuring Hugh Jackman, who is one of my favourite actors. My favourite actor, actually. And some other drawings. So, yeah. This is another sketch. I don't know who this is of, but it says here, if you can't read it, just another pretty face. And this was another style that I experimented with. It didn't really stick because I didn't really like, again, like with a really long face, like I had this obsession with really long noses and really long faces. But like the big eyes, I wasn't a huge fan of, and these lips, I wasn't a huge fan of. I didn't know how to draw lips back in the day. But yeah. This was, I think this was a notebook that I covered the back of, and actually this is a theme with my notebooks. I tend to draw all over them. My teachers absolutely hated it. My teachers absolutely hated that I would draw on like the cover and the back cover of my notebooks, but I used to do it all the time, and I would not, it doesn't matter how many times they would like give me a new notebook, make me write out all my work, it doesn't matter how many times they did that, I would always draw on them, so they eventually just gave up on me. But it says, war is a game of patience and he who waits shall win. I don't know where this quote came from, but I used to make up quotes. Because I thought I was really smart and philosophical, but they've got like little hats from different. Well, this was meant to be a Viking hat, but as I learned much later, those were not a thing. The hats with the horns on them. So yeah, Yeah, I'm not showing that one. I'm not showing that one because it goes against everything that I stand for now. Nope. No matter how much y'all protest in the comments, I'm not showing that one. So this was like a little series of comics that I made about me being a part of all the different Assassin's Creed characters. So this is meant to be Desmond. And this was me with a broomstick because it was a popular meme at the time for Assassin's Creed characters to be able to like really create some damage if they had a broomstick. This was meant to be Altair, who was my favorite assassin, and there's me crying because Desmond's bullying me, and I've got a broomstick here and I'm looking very angry. There's Ezio and Altair, and there's me holding a broomstick. I was a very lonely child. Have I mentioned that? This was never like a series that I published anywhere. This was just purely for my own entertainment. And there's everyone telling me off because I beat the crap out of Desmond because I didn't like Desmond as a character at the time. I don't know how much of this you can see because it's very faint. It's all in pencil. But yeah, it's a really silly series of comments. Sorry, it's a really silly series of comics. And then obviously he's alive because everyone resynchronizes in a video game. And there's me just screaming not dead at Altair, who was telling me off. There's me crying again. I don't know why I drew myself with a fringe. I did not have a fringe at the time. So, yeah. Anyways, moving on from that. This was another book cover that I did. I need to show you my more recent book covers because I still do this with my notebooks that I get from school. And it says, "Love and joy, whether it be in food, wealth, or those that thy right hand possesses, to keep them and yourself happy is war." Don't know. Don't ask me. I don't know. But yeah, this was a cover. This was what I drew on the back cover. I used to romanticize war back in the day. I watched a lot of war films, war-based films as well. Okay, so this says ideological warfare, but it's not about anything serious. It's about Assassin's Creed. So there are two main factions in Assassin's Creed, and one is the assassin ideology, which is nothing is true and everything is permitted, which is their creed, and there's the Templar ideology, which is everyone needs direction, essentially, and that men are weak and we need to really control them almost by force, and that's why the pieces of Eden are used, because they're mind control devices, or devices with these like ancient power that could control human beings. This is like very left wing and right wing. I thought I was so smart. So awful. Yeah, more of these like pencil drawings on lined paper. There's me with my broomstick and all the assassins and my classmates in the background. And this, I can't remember what I do remember the context of this. So this is, as I said, I used to watch a lot of war films back in the day. So this is meant to be Christian Bale's, no. It's not Christian Bale in 300, it's, I've forgotten his name, Gerard Butler. This is Gerard Butler from 300, and this is, what's his name? He was from Magic Mike, but that's not where I first watched him. This was about the Eagle. This was the movie The Eagle. He was the centurion from The Eagle, and they're laughing at a modern day soldier because they had a much harder time. That's what I thought anyway. I don't know. I'm sure there's an argument to be made on both sides, but this was meant to be like a little poster portraying that they're like laughing at this soldier because he has to fire from a distance, whereas this was very much more hand-to-hand combat or something like that. That was the context. Again, you won't be able to see any of this, but more Assassin's Creed like comic books. It's me playing a video game and all the assassins standing around me. I think at the time it was just the first and second games that were out, so I hadn't been introduced to the amazing, just brilliant fourth video game, which is my favorite. Black Flag is my favorite of the Assassin's Creeds, for those of you who are wondering. So this was another character. I don't remember exactly which story. I think I do. I think it's from a fan fiction I wrote about one of the other Assassin's Creed characters. I used to experiment a lot with my writing by writing fan fictions, and I still think that it's a brilliant way to experiment your writing, because it's, in a sense, it's not wasted because you are building on a story that already exists, and it's just a way to like experiment with different styles, and that's what I would do. So like I would write a lot of fan fiction around Assassin's Creed because it allowed me to develop the way that I write violence, because I wasn't very good at doing that. I was very good at creating speech and things like conversation. I was really good at writing, but I was not good at describing violence or like the way that people fight or dance or have sex. So I was not good at writing that. So I would experiment within this world, and it was just a really good way of developing my style. But this was another style that I went through, also very anime-esque in the way that I drew, except for the way that I drew eyes. This was not very anime-esque, but like the way that I drew, it was, well, I think it was slightly more realistic than what we saw before, and it's actually quite akin to what we've got going now. But yeah, I actually really enjoyed this style of drawing, but you know, she's in the past now. But yeah, let me see if I can find any more drawings. This was me trying to develop some understanding of proportion. I did a terrible job. As you can see, she looks very gaunt in the face, and her head is too small for her body, and her shoulders are very wide. And hands are awful. Look at the hands. It's awful. But yeah, it was me trying to experiment with that. This was me trying to experiment with different expressions of eyes. So they look very similar to each other, and this was my first attempt in drawing like very realistic looking eyes, and they don't look very realistic if you actually take a look at them, but yeah, that's something that I used to do. This was a drawing, I think this drawing is up on my Instagram actually, and this was a drawing that I had drew of my friend who I don't really talk to anymore, but she was a friend who I used to write with. Her name was Leah, and she had a fair few troubles in her life. So yeah, and the text says, "A true act of kindness is one without debt." This was a character I think that my friend Kyle was writing about, and I can't remember the context of the character, but he was a very gaunt character, again with the long faces and the long nose. Like this was a theme of my drawing style at the time, and my just inability to draw lips appropriately. But yeah, it was my first attempt in drawing like a very gaunt character, like this is intentional, he's meant to look this way. But yeah, and this is a drawing that I actually still really like. And the text says, "All shall be by age withered or by fate struck dead." Again, I just thought I was so poetic and smart back then. And I think, I can't remember what the inspiration for this was, but I remember the tiny forehead was something that I was experimenting with because I was obsessed from childhood with this cartoon film, this animated film called The Road to El Dorado, and they have like really tiny foreheads. They have like these shaped eyes, and I was experimenting with that style. And again, long nose, extremely long nose, and long face. And this is a drawing that I actually really like. Like, I would never bring back this style because I don't think that it is my style, but it was a drawing that I really, really like and appreciate. So yeah. This is a character. Her name, she's a villain in one of my stories, and she's a nun, and her name is Abbess Brittany, I think. So yeah, this is one of my most prominent, like one of the first stories that I finished that wasn't a fan fiction. This was an abbess from that story, and she's a villain in that story. There was a lot of argument about that because there was just so much vitriol because I made that character a villain, and nobody wanted me because I used to write on a writing site and everyone read my work. Yeah, it was just like, why did you make her a villain? I was like, because she's a villain. It's my story. Fuck you. This is my first interpretation of Marika. She was originally meant to wear a cracked mask. Marika is a prominent hero in this story that I'm talking about. And she was the hero of this story. Well, anti-hero, hero. She's the leader of a mercenary company or army. And yeah, that was my first interpretation of her. She was meant to wear a mask. I don't think many of you have read that, but anyway. This was another of those long face, long nose kind of pictures. Look how far down the nose is. Like, it... But, I mean, this was a style that I was, like, doing a lot of back then. This was meant to be a very, like, woke kind of drawing of people who wear masks. Like, this is not meant to be her face, this is meant to be a mask. So yeah. Oh, I remember this. Some of it has gone through some water damage, but I'm gonna show you this. So this was a fan fiction that I wrote. It was called Assassin's Creed Reminiscence. I believe it's still up on... No, I think I took it down because I was going through a phase where I was taking down all my work on novellas because they just would not do anything good. But yeah, this was the cover that I drew for it, and it was meant to be a love between this character, whose name I do not remember, and this character, who was Master Ibn Lahat. I think I've shown another one of the pictures before, and this flower in the middle was so difficult to draw. Like, you can't see it on camera, but like, you can feel how many times this page has been like rubbed out and redrawn. So yeah, that was a drawing it's like one of my first drawings that I was actually quite proud of. And this, I can't remember the context of this, but I'm pretty sure this character's name, this one in the middle, her name is Sakura, this is Marika, and this is meant to be the Abbess Brittany. And these are other characters who like are in Marika's team, and these are meant to be like mindless subjects of Abbess Brittany because she's got poise and character and beauty and all of that stuff. But yeah, this character is Sakura, who is based on my good friend Katie, who currently lives in Denmark, and I met her a few days ago, and I want to snap her this and ask her if she remembers this. But yeah, this was based on Katie. So yeah, moving on. It's almost 30 minutes. I don't know if I showed this already, but this is a drawing that I was quite proud of from a long time ago. I think I did show this, but I wanna redraw this in like a digital way because I really want to post it. But yeah, that is everything, I think, in terms of the artwork. And, you know, I hope you enjoyed walking through memory lane through this diary. In the next few episodes, we will be going through 2017, which I feel like I went through a lot of changes in 2017. So yeah, that's what we will be going through. But I hope you enjoyed this edition of Walking Down Memory Lane, which was just a walk down artwork and how my art style has changed. I mean, it hasn't really changed that much. I mean, these are more recent iterations of my artwork. But I have gone through quite a few styles because I used to read a lot of manga, and I used to just have a lot of fun with art. But yeah, thank you for joining me in this iteration, and hopefully I will see you on Sunday, where we will be doing some dramatic readings, if you so please. If you have any other suggestions for content, please do let me know. If you want a theme for Friday, please let me know. And if you want to hear about my terrible dreams, they weren't terrible, they were just like silly, and some of them were quite serious, but silly and funny dreams, then let me know. If you liked this video, please do leave a like, share, subscribe, comment down below. If you absolutely detested this video, please leave your negative comments below, smash that dislike button, unsubscribe, roast me on Twitter, roast me on Instagram, roast me wherever you want. We allow that here. We are a free speech platform. If you would like to support me in a more monetary way, I have a PayPal, I have a Patreon, I have merch down below, merch that I will be updating today, because today is my day where I dedicate my time to my other projects, so I will be updating the website with more merch items that I've put up on there. And if there is anything that you would like to see on my merch store, please do, again, let me know, and I will make it a thing. I will make it available for you. I do currently have commissions open for artwork. If you would like something drawn by me, please do DM me through Twitter. Everything is in the description below. Thank you, and I will see you on Friday.